while Connor is actually in Almaty, I'm here looking at Zhirinovsky exhibition. He was a very famous leader of LDPR, Liberal Democratic Party. So he was born right after the war, and in Almaty. So literally, babe, how are you? And he was the sixth kid in a big family, and his dad just left, which is interesting that on the 6th of July, on the 46th, when Polish and Jewish nationals were allowed to go to Warsaw. So that's what his father did. So he never saw him. And his mom was raising 6 kids. Can you imagine? That's pretty crazy. And what I just read here, that right after the war, the amount of women was more than men by 22 million people. There's women more by 22. That's insane. They basically were doing everything. So no wonder why the Slavic women are so strong. Because come on, guys, like that's literally in our DNA. That's crazy. I'm in shock. But it's really nice in here. So let's learn something more. So here, guys, if you don't know, we had a huge hotel, Congress Center, like everything. It was гостиница Россия. It was humongous. I remember it like that. It was also a place where I think was one of the first Japanese restaurants in 90s. It was Tokyo, and all like people from the government and the crime gangsters back in the days, OPG and all that, воры в законе, all that stuff. We're hanging out there, and I was also there with my dad. Yes, I remember. We went there many times. There was also a nightclub. We were like sneaking out there. So you had to go like through the Red Square over there, and right over here, that's where we were making picture with Connor. So, as far as you all know, the Soviet Union breaks up, and we have Russia happening. So I was born in the 90s, 90s kid. I don't remember obviously the times well, but I know a lot from my parents who were telling me a lot. So it was crazy times. Like for example, where I live, this White House was shot with the tanks because like the people were trying to make like a semi-revolution in 92, I think it was. Because in 91, Russia appeared to be. So obviously Zhirinovsky decided to make a party, Liberal Democratic Party. Obviously it was a great time for that. And the times were harsh, like there was no groceries, it was black market, everyone was doing whatever they could do. There was a lot of gangsters. Oh, there's the White House here. Wait. The one which I see from my window, lol. Yeah, so actually in my house where I live, we still have shots from that times, and I'll show you that also later. Mom, что скажешь? What? That's my mom, by the way.
Oh, это очень интересно.
Very interesting. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Was the scariest part about that is that, for example, all people who had savings, they completely lost it because it's a new system, like new banking system, everything new. There's not a Soviet ruble anymore. It's like should be a Russian ruble. So that means there's going to be an exchange rate. So people just lost everything, right? So nothing is organized. There's complete chaos. So obviously there's a lot of gangsters, robbery, crime, shots. Like we have a lot of movies about those gangster times. But in the beginning it was just like a tiny stuff, you know. In general, it was very like kind of anarchy. So obviously a lot of people thought that it was a bad idea that this happened. So obviously everyone was blaming, everyone wanted to bring back the USSR. What I think is super interesting that basically from 1986 to 1991, there are basically two eras are clashing. Because, for example, my parents, they met на Первомайская демонстрация. It's on the 1st of May, the day of labor in unions, and everyone is going for, how it's called? Jesus Christ. Basically the guys tell me how it's called. So, and everyone is coming out and they with the flags and so yay, Первомай, yay. It's very like Soviet thing, right? Communist thing, like. And then at the same time there were already meetings about reforms, capitalism, democracy at the same time of that time. So people were already like, oh, in one leg, one step in the back, and then in one step in the future. Obviously, no one properly prepared for that. So people were like literally no food. Like my dad, since he was kind of ahead of time and my mom was completely in love with him, they had a good time, but a lot of people had a very, very hard time. So on the 31st of March in 1990, they were registered. No, they were registered in 91, but this was their first time on concert. They were like propaganding all of that in their buchanka. How cute is that? Oh my god. Oh, babe, I miss that the fact that you're not here with me. You would love that so much. So on the 31st of March in 1990, they were registered. No, they were registered in 91, but this was their first time on concert. They were like propaganding all of that in their buchanka. How cute is that? Oh my god. Oh, babe, I miss that the fact that you're not here with me. You would love that so much. Почему?
Я не знаю, почему у нас какой-то переворот, так ледяное озеро.
Да ладно? Да ты что? Нет. Да ладно. Okay, basically my mom is saying that whenever something was weird is happening, they would always put the Swan Lake ballet. Crazy. So basically, that's very interesting. That in 91, actually there was the first referendum, and referendum, you know, guys, it's like, is there a yes or no? And 150 million people said they don't want the Soviet Union to be ended. But Gorbachev already was like, then they wanted to put Gorbachev away, and then Yeltsin basically finalized that. But people didn't want that. And even here, it's written that Putin was saying that actually the fallout of Soviet Union is the huge tragedy. I personally love this concept. I think if it was more twisted in a more smarter way, it was a very cool thing. So yeah, 91, 92, 93, a lot of changes. Everything is unstable. People are super poor. I don't know what my dad did, but I actually was in Switzerland at the age of 3. But like I said, he was already planning some stuff around before everything happened. And like I said, he was a bit older and smart, but it was super smart. And yeah, so basically for a lot of Russians, this time was super unstable, super difficult. So when Putin came in 2000, it became like... Basically, the situation is that he was very much ahead of his time because he was very bright, aggressive, he spoke the truth, he was like, wow. So I would say that he was a bit ahead of time, so a lot of people were not taking him so much seriously. But in the end of the day, now everyone looking back and be like, damn, he was right. Basically, the situation is that he was very much ahead of his time because he was very bright, aggressive, he spoke the truth, he was like, wow. So I would say that he was a bit ahead of time, so a lot of people were not taking him so much seriously. But in the end of the day, now everyone looking back and be like, damn, he was right. So there's also an interesting thing that he became like a future teller because people say like, oh, he will have some secret portals to understand stuff. No, he was just a very, very smart dude, and he studied a lot. He was like in the end of the day, he was a geek who studied a lot. That's why he could study in the best university in Moscow. And he was just analyzing everything all together, how the things are gonna happen. He was like really at the place where he was supposed to be. He was like a true right politician who learned a lot about every nation, every race, across all Russia, in the world. And yeah, so like this you could actually predict a lot of things. Why a lot of things are happening, because people are doesn't have enough of education, they have lack of education, they're imbeciles, and they are doing and making decisions where on the places where they even not supposed to be. That's actually very interesting because it's written here that we have to take the best from empiric Russia, from the Soviet Union, and from the modern Russia. And only if we take all the best practices, we can build the future for this country. Well, I always loved history and history of other countries. And I always saying, how come we repeat so many mistakes and not letting people to grow in this country, and the best minds are always leaving? Why we cannot learn from the previous mistakes and just enter to the brighter future? So yeah, we have a lot. Yes, I'm coming. Okay, this is me here, and this is absolutely genius because everyone is making a picture and it's asking to leave your email. So they will have your email and your picture, so they would know exactly how you look like. Genius marketing.